Dashakam 4 mainly talks about, if you look at the title, Ashtanga Yogaha Tatsiddhi Prakaraha. Now, Bhattatri, in the first three chapters, what he does, first three Dashakams, he talks about the Lord, then the significance of the Lord, and ultimately he comes to a conclusion how bhakti should be done. So, description about that, all that is told in Dashakam 4. Now, this is a normal path, right, or quite an easy path. To chant the names of the Lord, sing his glories, listen to his stories. But there are also difficult parts that are there. What difficult, or you can say slightly tough to follow, not as common, not for common people much. Like, it is not that it is impossible, but it becomes difficult. So Dashakam 4 talks about Ashtanga Yoga, wherein he says that Kalyatam mama kurushvatavatim kalyate bhavadupasanam yaya. Bhattatri prays to the Lord that you bless me with this kind of health that I can worship you, and then I can also follow the Ashtanga Yoga path, and thus I can earn your grace. Now, what exactly is Ashtanga Yoga is, there are about 8 limbs in yoga that are followed. Patanjali makes a note of this in his Yoga Sutras. First is, all we devotees will follow the discipline of Ashtanga Yoga, starting from Yama, Niyama, Pratyayama, Pranayama, and so on. Pratyahara. First is Yama. Yama is nothing but self control, having a control, that is following a very disciplined life, and so on. Say, for example, if you are eating, you have rice, chapati, or whatever it is. You eat 2 chapatis, you have a control, it will be only 2 chapatis. So I like it, so I'll take one more. Okay, one day you take, okay. Tomorrow again, no, I still like this, maybe the sabji is good, I take one more. Like this, we see there is no control. You like something, you go behind it. You already have 10 clothes, you go to the market, you purchase 2 more clothes. On the way back, you see, oh, this cloth also I like, you end up buying that. Like simple examples I'm giving you. So this is Yama, having a control by practicing certain ways, such as brahmacharya, grihastha and so on. So depending at that time, say for example 1 to 25 student life, very strictly follow that. Grihastha 26 to 50 or so, you strictly follow that, follow all the rules of grihastha, take care of your family, settle down in life, and then slowly, that is for each stage he gives an examples. Then next is niyama. Niyama is nothing but rules. Now, if you're studying Narayaneeyam, you attend the class 3 days a week, then you practice at home. Like this, these are rules which you have to follow. No, I will attend only 1 week, remaining I'll see. That is where we break rules, right? So, rule is something for everything. Whatever we do, we live in a society, we have to follow rules. So, that is niyama. So we have our daily routines. In the morning we take a bath. In the morning we brush our teeth. During lunchtime we have lunch. Evening we have snacks. So for throughout the day we have certain rules that we have set, which we have to follow. That niyama. And thus now you might feel that this is so easy. This is something which we are already doing. If you look closely, deeper and deeper, if you see for yourself, you'll see that out of 10 rules we follow only one or two. Remaining all the rules we change as per we want, or maybe we break them. Breaking of signals and so on the road, that is also the same thing. Now, all this Bhattatri tells in a highly philosophical way, but in the case of most of us, what it happens is, even in our everyday daily activities, also we are not following rules. So, forget about things at a very higher level. So, at least in our daily life, also, like you see, some people they'll be very diet conscious, this, that. Every day they'll go for a walk, practice yoga. So, this is something wherein we lead a disciplined life. Okay, every day in the morning, 6:15, I have to log in, I have to chant one Dashakam. If you keep this for yourself as a target, all of us we do that, right? So this is niyama, yama, niyama. And then I'll also practice asana, yama, niyama, asana. Asana is nothing but physical yoga, like sukhasana, padmasana, vajrasana, and so on. So physical control is also very much needed in order to meditate on you. Next, he further says that continuously pranayama, I'll keep chanting your pranava mantram, that is om, and thus focus my mind and breath on you and increase my concentration. Thus all my senses will be withdrawn. So that is, most of us we practice pranayama, right? Breathing or meditation in the morning. For some time we feel fresh. Thus, through this way, I prepare myself for meditation on you. Then he says, it takes a lot of effort for this. It's not easy. When we close our eyes, at that time we have thousands of thoughts that come in. So Bhattatri slowly states in verse 4 that slowly I will develop the fourth part, that is a pranayama. Slowly I'll start meditating on your form, and it will be little different. Now I have to manifest, I have to see your form in front of me. It becomes easy to see your form in a temple or in the form of an idol or so. Imagine your form in my mind and concentrate on that. Little in the beginning it might be difficult, but I'll not give up. Practice and practice. For example, verse 4 he says, Aspute vapushite prayatnato. With continuous prayatna and practice, I'll try to practice meditation. And then finally in verse number 5, Visputa Vayava Bheda Sundaram. After continuous practice, I will be able to see you, visualize your form in my mind. Your beautiful form with all the limbs and so on will be very clearly visible. This is nothing but, now in the case of all of us also, you close your eyes, you can see the form of the Lord, right? Every time you want to see something, you don't need the picture. If I tell you, okay, about Krishna, if I'm telling you something, automatically the form of Krishna comes to your mind. You don't need a picture of Krishna. Why it has come? Because many times we have seen the form, right? You see a picture of the Lord, so you know how the Lord looks. Or for anything around. If I say for example, rice, you immediately know how rice looks. That is the reason why you see in the when small children are there, they go to their kindergarten, KG classes, you have something wherein they are displayed many things, right? And then in the oral exam or so, they will be asked some questions. Okay, show this, show that, show sugar, show this color, and so on. Why it is done? That is, the child initially doesn't know what things are, right? Then it is shown things are kept in front of it, and 10 times if it is shown the same thing, then the 11th time it remembers, lifelong it is registered. We also have gone through the same, right? So that's the reason in the initial years of school, nobody tells us to write or say something. They show us many things and then they ask us, right? So this is something that is Shravanam, and then you have to see something. You listen to that and you follow. So the same thing here, Bhattatri also says through continuous practice. Now in my mind I can see your form and I will meditate now. I don't have to put in much efforts. I've already practiced Abhyasa Yoga, so I can now surrender to you. Verse number 6, Dhyayatam. This next part is Dhyanam. Out of the Ashtanga Yoga, the next limb is Dhyanam, and I will in on your form. The form of the Lord is called Sagunam. Saguna is the Rupa of the form. I shall enjoy your bliss. That is, I'll be very happy when I practice meditating on you. And so basically, if you see those who are, maybe it might not be in the case of all of us, those who practice meditation or yoga, you might know. But at the end of the day, all of us mostly would have practiced yoga. So after you do that, most of us, everyone of us, we feel fresh, right? So the same thing here, Bhattatri also describes. Further, he says that finally, when I've attained the last stage of Brahman, that is there, it is also called as Nirvikalpa Samadhi. This is told in verse number 7. Twatsamaswadana sitim twatsamadhi. That is the last stage. At that time, in case if I don't reach that stage, if I make some mistakes or so, I again fall down. Again, I will start the meditation process from dharana onwards. Dharana is nothing but meditation, thinking of the Lord. Dhyanam is meditating. Dharana is to be in that stage, continuously thinking of the Lord. Thus, next verse he says, "Thus I'll be very happy. I'll have experienced your form, and then devotees like me, Narada, Shuka, and so on. Shuka Brahman from the Srimad Bhagavatam reference. Narada, the greatest devotee of Vishnu. May all of us liberate. May you have to only help us to do all this. Your grace is very much needed. Next verse, he says that once, now, verse number 9, he says, the Lord, after all of us devotees, after we achieve you, after we have achieved the last stage of Samadhi, then what can be done is immediate moksha, or gradually it can take, we can get moksha. So this depends on the yogi, it seems, if they want to attain immediate samadhi or after a course of time. So accordingly, through the six centers of the nadi, that is the different chakras that are there, and the last nadi is sushumna nadi, that is the topmost part of our head. Through that, breath goes away. That is ultimate death. That is their samadhi. So the breath that is there through all the different chakras. Now, whenever a person dies, when we say the person has stopped breathing, doesn't mean that from where does the breath go away, or the soul from where it goes away is from the sushumna nadi. That is the topmost part of our head. So that's the reason that part is very sensitive. Sometimes if you touch and see, especially for small children also, it will be very hot if you touch it very closely and see, you can feel that. That is because a lot of energy is there in the sushumna nadi. So through that, it seems that the breath goes away. Next, further, one verse number 10, he says, one who wants to visit other worlds like Brahmaloka, Swargaloka, Vaikuntham, and so on, his gross body, that because our culture believes in life after death, we say that our physical body meets with the soul, Atma. That's the reason through the Sushumna Nadi, life goes away. We always want to go up. Nobody wants to go down, right? That's the reason why women during your menstrual cycle, you are prohibited or you are told don't visit places of high energy, because at that time usually energy always should be upwards. So temples or religious worship, people where you get positive vibrations also, because during the menstrual cycle you see the energy in our body is moving downwards, and always energy should go upwards. So basically, it will be like a clash of energies that take place. That's the reason usually we are prohibited from doing religious things or where things where there is a lot of positive energy that is there. Next, further, the one who Bhattatri says in verse 10 that those who want to visit Brahmarandram is the last stage, heavenly region of Vaikuntha, Brahmaloka, and so on. They have to practice all this Ashtanga Yoga path that is there. Further, he says, those who follow the Mukti Marga or this Marga that has been told, in which time during the Uttarayana Kala, that is from January to June, just as Krishna tells in the Gita also in the Uttarayana Kala. Bhishma also, because he had the boon of Ichamrityu, he decided to die in the Uttarayana Kala, in the Shukla Paksha Uttarayana. They will enjoy the realm of Dhruva Padam, Dhruva Padantamiyate, verse number 11. Dashakam 4, they will attain the Padam of Dhruva. Next, that is the Dhruva Padam is the ultimate position, the pole star. Next, verse number 12, and ultimately after reaching Dhruvapadam, the next loka that is Mahar Loka. So whenever we say that a person goes to heaven, it's not that directly you go to Vaikuntham. There are different stages. First is Dhruvapadam, next is Mahar Loka. There are 7 heavens that are told. Then ultimately there you have Adishesha who is present. A lot of fire comes through his mouth. And then finally, after meeting Adishesha, we go and meet you in Vaikuntham and then to the Brahmaloka. From the Brahmaloka, now, sometimes, depending on our karma, it is said that you don't have to face the fire of Adishesha directly, you can go to Brahmalokam. So, that depends on few people based on our karma. Then, finally, living in Brahmaloka or in Vaikuntha, finally, the person is liberated at the time of Mahapralaya. Mahapralaya is at the time of dissolution. Verse number 13. Tatrava tava pade tava vasan prakrita pralaya. That is the destruction of the world. Next, verse number 14. Finally, the devotee who is there, whose soul has gone. So this is, if you see the entire Dashakam talks about Ashtanga Yoga and the Samadhi stage, then what happens to the soul later, the Atma later, that has been described in detail. Further, the devotee enters into the 7 spheres that are there. So when a person is born, we are born with Pancha Mahabhutas. When you die also, the same thing has to be there. That is earth, water, fire, air, space, and ultimately intelligence and the nature. That is awareness of nature. All of us human beings are blessed with this, or even living creatures also, we are aware of what is there around, right? So these are 7 things the soul passes through that, and ultimately he enjoys bliss, happiness. All this is told in tattadatmakata ya vishan sukhi yati te padamanavritam vibho, verse number 40. Ultimately he attains you, he merges in you, Brahman. Last verse, archiradikati midrishim. And a person who follows this path will never fall down to earth. He never has to fall in this ocean of samsara. He will never take rebirth and so on. And therefore, you only have to protect me. You only have to show this way. I have described this entire path, Bhattatri says, but practically to follow it is becoming very difficult. That too, to my illness, it is not being possible. But I surely want to follow this path also and reach you, attain bliss, be happy, like many other devotees and great sages like Shuka and Narada have done. So, please protect me, your devotee, who's always singing your glories and always trying to follow this path which has been told by you. So, Bhattatri, why he talks now, you might feel that first 3 Dashakams talk simply about Bhakti, and the 4th Dashakam talks about Ashtanga Yoga or Ashtasiddhi Prakara, about how the devotee has to practice some difficult ways of life. So, Bhattatri at this point, what he tries to show is it is a condensation of Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, this part has to be highlighted. But why he has highlighted, there is one more reason for this is he is ready to go to any extent in order to please the Lord. He says through easy bhakti ways, maybe by singing your glories, listening to your songs, chanting your nama. If you are not going to come and bless me, I am also ready to practice this Ashtanga Yoga, but for that you have to bless me with good health. So that is the gist of Dashakam 4. Dashakam 5, we'll quickly see, we have some time. Okay, could everyone understand Dashakam 4? Yes?
Yes, Jacob.
Yes.
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 Madam, I want to. You said that the soul departs in Uttarayanam, it goes to Dhruva Mandala. But if a soul departs in Dakshina, what will happen?
Dakshinayana also it will go, but then the process is quite slow because logically seeing Uttarayana Kala you have a lot of light that is there. Dakshinayana Kala is the dark month, so therefore it takes a lot of time, and ultimately it is believed that in the Dakshinayana Kala when you go it is Indra Loka and you have to come back. You have to take a rebirth, whereas in the Uttarayana Kala Dhruva Padam ultimately you Mahar Loka, Brahma Loka, Vaikuntham you can ascend further up. So that's the reason people who die in the Uttarayana Kala, they are liberated. Now, of course, this is not there in our hands. Then it is based on our karma. You do good deeds also, it is believed that people can die in the Uttarayana Kala. So, Dakshinayana Kala also, you die doesn't mean that you go to hell. You will go to places like Indra Loka also. You experience all the pleasures there. Based on your good karma, you will experience all pleasures, happiness. But then you have to come back. After those merits are exhausted, you have to come back. You take a rebirth. And again, then you do good karma also. And then you can go in the Uttarayana Kala. That. Yeah.
Thank you.
And logically, if you see from July to December, they are dark months. So the path for the ancestors to go is quite dark. So it becomes difficult for them to go up. Whereas from January to January 14th, after the Makar Sankranti festival, the sun goes in the north hemisphere, Uttarayana Kala. Those are all bright months, summer months. So it becomes easy for the person to liberate. Okay, so time is up today.